Broadcasting from Berlin, Germany, Solutions Review is on location at MobileIron Live 2019. Brought to you by MobileIron.
We are back at the Motorwerk in Berlin, Germany for MobileIron Live 2019. I'm Doug Atkinson from Solutions Review, and I am lucky to be joined by the Senior Vice President for Product Management at MobileIron, Brian Foster.
Hello there.
Well, you just came off the stage after giving a no-net demo, which is always tricky, live
That's
demo.
Right. Yeah, those are always dangerous.
It went very well.
It did, thank you, yeah.
And actually it's quite compelling because really I think the story here and the story that we hear universally is how the mobile device is now at the center of the universe.
That's right, yeah.
And certainly within the enterprise.
You never go far without it, right? So it's always in your hand, at least me. I don't think I'm too unlike other people, but you know, it's always handy.
Exactly.
So.
And it's got two important elements these days. One is, you know, obviously it needs to be protected.
That's
but
right.
Two, it can be used as a way to provide really tight authentication in a zero trust environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think so. This obviously kind of lead into what we're talking about here at MobileIron. So you know, I've been at MobileIron 5 months. What drove me to MobileIron, and I spent 21 years at Symantec, 5 years at McAfee, long in security experience, long doing endpoint security. And for the longest time, like the latter years that I was working at a McAfee, for example, I was like, security's moving to the network, to the cloud, away from the endpoint. And it's funny how it's kind of come full circle, and I'm now of the opinion that actually securing your device is the most important first step you need to do. Because the reason why I think that way is really two reasons. And we talked about this here at the show a little bit. One of them is more and more users are going straight from these mobile devices to cloud applications, bypassing the enterprise network completely. And so all the security and tools you put on your network for visibility and control, they never see that traffic because you're not on that enterprise network at all. So that's kind of part one. Part two is, well, the enterprise network itself isn't as secure as you think it is. There are attackers out there. You know, there's one of the security visionaries I follow that said, you know, there's two types of people out there: those that know they've been breached and those that have been breached and just don't know it yet, right? And so if you assume your network's attacked, it's the same principle as if your users aren't on your network at all, is you can't assume that they're on a safe network, so you've got to secure the access a different way and provide visibility control a different way. And so if you summarize it, you don't own the network, you don't own the applications because they're public cloud applications. The only thing left that you really can assert control and visibility on is the device itself. And so that's what brought me to MobileIron, is I felt that the ability to manage and secure these devices enabled you to not only secure this access for the future, but also start turning these mobile devices into your secure access for the enterprise.
Well, I think the term has been used. It's like your passport now.
That's right.
It's as important as your passport.
That's right.
And the trick that you have to overcome or play is how to make it as secure as possible while still being seamless and not as friction based, if you will, for the user.
That's right. And that's what we're launching here at MobileIron. Is we have this initiative around Zero SignOn, which we call it zero because you never sign in once. So it's better than single sign-on. Yeah, one of our marketing taglines, which I really like, is single sign-on is one sign-on too many. And that's really the case. So first of all, if you take a step back and look at MobileIron over the last 12 years, how MobileIron came on the scene and became the fastest growing security company, any tech company, for a few years ago, was because they built native experiences on mobile devices in a secure way. So that's kind of our foundation. So going back to what you said, we absolutely can remove the use of passwords in these devices, do it in a native way. There's no friction. Authentication becomes automatic using either the biometrics built into the device, or if it's maybe a cheap device and those biometrics aren't good enough, we'll provide some of our own. But use your face, your voice, your fingerprint and your phone together as your digital identity.
Well, and that was the neat thing about your demo, was the biometrics that you used. I mean, everything from shooting your passport and then shooting your face, even though your passport was a few years older.
It was, yes.
It's very clever how the biometrics are so strong in these devices, and they can be used effectively to.
Absolutely. You know, what we showed in the demo was the ability to go from a brand new employee at a company, gets onboarded, gets access on their managed devices to all their applications, And in that whole process, they're never given a password. Right? This goes back to zero sign-on. There's 0 passwords here. And so there's no passwords to get phished. There's no friction about remembering passwords, having to write them down, all those things.
Well, and when you onboard somebody like that, there's also no cultural head trash about doing something different.
That's right.
Right? It's like, this is how we go.
Yep.
This is how it works. Look at how it works.
Yep.
And this is how you'll go going forward. And ultimately, while it's a cultural change, I think everybody understands, given the massive amount of breaches happening, that it's a necessity.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, if you think about removing the use of passwords from a vulnerability perspective, it's key, right? You can look at the papers and see breach after breach. How did that breach happen? Stolen credentials, right? High-profile breaches where emails get stolen. Why did it happen? Because they phished them and got their credentials. Just removing somebody's even getting a password removes the ability for them to get phished. And it's left moving parts, right? Because if you think about having been in security a long time, how many solutions we deploy and build because of these different challenges, and it all adds to friction and complexity. This is a very simple way to solve this problem in a very sure way.
So you're here at a customer conference, surrounded by customers. I know you're a busy guy, but we'll take a few more minutes to just talk a little bit about the roadmap for you. So 2019 is a big year. You're here, obviously. You've come over to do big things. How are you thinking about the next 9 months?
Yeah, I say there's probably 3 parts to our roadmap that are important. One of those is, all of this zero sign-on capability is built on this foundation of managing and securing this device. And so it's only as good as our ability to manage a secure device. So a large part of our roadmap is just managing securing devices. And so we're rapidly investing in Mac OS management, Chrome OS. We're also investing in additional use cases, task workers, every way that people are taking these devices into their enterprises and mobilizing business processes. So it's not just knowledge workers like you and I, it's factory workers, it's healthcare workers, energy workers. They've got some corporate-owned business use device that are going to be managed by MobileIron. So that's the foundational part of this. The second piece is also taking the ability to expand our protection of those devices. We have a mobile threat defense product. We saw a vulnerability through WhatsApp come out yesterday. I guess that's May.
It's a big
14th.
Big deal.
Yeah, and so we have a solution that detects those types of things and protects those types of things. That's another key element from our investment in 2019. And then the third is just the zero sign-on. Is now that we are managing and securing it, just investing and building out the demos that I showed about getting rid of passwords in the enterprise, be able to take employees, onboard them, get them access to all their corporate data, all their corporate applications without ever having to get a password in that process.
Well, it's a brave new world. It's certainly something that that we're seeing. It's a cutting edge approach. And honestly, the demo that Brian gave is one that if you can see it online, you should, because it's extremely tight. Well done.
Thank you.
But it's also very impressive, and it's the way you're going to have to start thinking about just employee access going forward, because it's just a very dangerous world out there, and security is paramount.
Seamless, frictionless, it works.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, brilliant. Well, thanks for swinging, Brian. You're a busy guy.
Thank you.
We appreciate the time.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right, great.